The night shift at listening station Kepler 9 was always quiet. Lieutenant Jisoo sat at her monitoring station, watching the endless stream of data flow across her screens. She had been doing this job for 3 years now, listening to the vast emptiness of space. Most nights she heard nothing but the random noise of distant stars and cosmic radiation. Tonight felt different. Jisoo leaned forward in her chair, her eyes narrowing at a strange pattern on her display. Something was repeating. Every 73 seconds, the same signal appeared. It wasn't natural. Stars didn't pulse like that. Asteroids didn't create patterns. Computer, isolate signal source, she said quietly. The station's AI responded immediately. The signal was coming from far away beyond any human colony. Jisoo's heart began to beat faster. In 3 years of monitoring deep space, she had never seen anything like this. She pressed the emergency communication button. Commander Hyunwoo, please report to the listening room. Priority urgent. Commander Hyunwoo arrived within minutes. He was a tall man in his late 40s with gray starting to show in his dark hair. He had served in space for 25 years and had seen many strange things. But when Jisoo showed him the signal, even he looked surprised. How long has this been transmitting? He asked. I detected it 18 minutes ago, but according to the computer, it's been broadcasting for at least 6 months. We just weren't pointed in the right direction to pick it up until now. Hyunwoo studied the pattern carefully. It's mathematical. Look at the sequence. Prime numbers. This is definitely artificial. Should I wake the rest of the crew? Jisoo asked. Yes, and contact Earth Command. Tell them we have something important. Within an hour, the entire station was awake and working. Hyunwoo called in every expert he could reach. The most important was Dr. Tae-yang, a specialist in unknown languages who worked at the research facility on Europa. It took him 2 days to reach their station, traveling by fast shuttle. Dr. Tae-yang was younger than Hyunwoo expected, maybe 30 years old, with sharp eyes and quick hands. He immediately began analyzing the signal, his fingers flying across his computer keyboard. It's beautiful, Tae-yang said after several hours. They're using mathematics as a universal language. Prime numbers to establish intelligence, then building more complex concepts. Look here, he pointed at his screen. This sequence represents danger. This one means help. And this one, he paused, his face growing serious. This one means dying. The room fell silent. Jisoo felt a cold sensation run down her spine. Hyunwoo spoke carefully. You're saying this is a distress call? Not just a distress call, Tae-yang replied. It's a cry for help from a civilization that's dying. They're calling out to anyone who can hear them, begging for someone to save them. For the next 3 days, Tae-yang worked almost without sleep. He decoded more of the message, and with each new piece of information, the situation became clearer and more desperate. The aliens called themselves the Velrathi. Their star system was being destroyed by something they called the Void, or the consuming darkness. They had tried everything they knew to stop it, but nothing worked. The Velrathi had sent their distress call in every direction, hoping anyone would hear them and come to help. The signal included coordinates to their system. It was 47 light years away from Earth. They don't expect anyone to answer, Tae-yang said quietly. Listen to this part of the message. They say they know they're probably alone in the universe. They say they're sending the signal because they have to try, even if no one is listening. Even if they die alone? Jisoo felt tears in her eyes. She looked at Commander Hyunwoo, who was staring at the decoded message on the screen. We have to tell Earth Command, Hyunwoo said. This decision is bigger than us. The message was sent to Earth immediately. The response took 3 days to arrive because of the distance. During those 3 days, everyone at the station talked about nothing else. Some thought humanity should help. Others argued it was too dangerous, too far away, and possibly a trap. When Earth Command finally responded, they called for an emergency meeting of the United Earth Council. Representatives from every nation and colony would vote on whether humanity should respond to the alien distress call. Hyunwoo was ordered to return to Earth to speak at the council meeting. He traveled with Dr. Tae-yang and Lieutenant Jisoo. The journey took 5 days, and during that time Hyunwoo prepared his speech carefully. The council chamber was enormous, filled with hundreds of representatives. Hyunwoo stood at the center, feeling the weight of their stares. He played the decoded distress call for everyone to hear. The mathematical language had been converted to audio, and it sounded like a song, beautiful and heartbreaking. These people are dying. Hyunwoo said. They sent out a call for help, not knowing if anyone would hear them, not knowing if anyone even existed. But we heard them, we exist. Now we have to decide who we are as a species. A representative from the European Alliance stood up. Commander, their system is 47 light-years away. Even with our fastest ships, it would take decades to reach them. By the time we arrive, they'll already be dead. Not with our fastest ships, Hyunwoo replied. But we have something new. The experimental faster-than-light drive. Project Horizon. It's been tested 3 times, and all 3 tests were successful. We could reach the Velrathi system in 3 months. Another representative spoke up, an older woman from the Asian coalition. The FTL drive is still experimental. We haven't tested it for long-distance travel. You could be sending people to their deaths. Maybe, Hyunwoo admitted. But if we don't try, the Velrathi will definitely die. All of them. An entire civilization will be erased from the universe, and we could have helped but chose not to. The debate continued for hours. Some representatives argued that humanity couldn't afford the risk or the resources. Others said that reaching out to help another species was exactly what humanity should do. The vote was scheduled for the next day. That night, Hyunwoo couldn't sleep. He stood at the window of his temporary quarters looking up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Velrathi were waiting, hoping, dying. Jisoo found him there. Do you think they'll vote yes? She asked. I don't know, Hyunwoo said honestly. I hope so. 'Cause if we don't help them, what does that say about us? What does it mean to be human if we ignore someone crying for help? The next day, the United Earth Council cast their votes. The room was tense and silent as the numbers appeared on the screen. When the final count showed, Hyunwoo held his breath. The vote passed. By a narrow margin, humanity had decided to answer the call. The representative from the Pacific Alliance stood up. Commander Hyunwoo, you will lead this mission. You will take the ship Horizon's Promise and travel to the Velrathi system. You will do everything in your power to save them. Humanity is counting on you. Hyunwoo felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders, but he also felt something else. Hope, pride, purpose. I won't let you down, he said. I won't let them down. As he left the council chamber, Dr. Taeyang and Lieutenant Jisoo walked beside him. They had a mission now. They had a purpose. Somewhere across the stars, the Velrathi were still sending their distress call, not knowing that this time someone was coming to answer. The Earth Orbital Shipyard Alpha floated high above the blue planet, a massive structure of metal and light. Inside one of its largest construction bays, the Horizon's Promise waited. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. It was the first vessel ever built specifically to travel faster than light. Commander Hyunwoo stood in front of it, looking up at the smooth hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Beside him stood a woman in a military uniform, her expression serious and focused. She's impressive, Captain Bora said, but impressive doesn't mean safe. Bora was Hyunwoo's second in command, chosen personally by him from thousands of qualified officers. She was brilliant at tactics and strategy, but she was also careful and cautious. Some people called her a pessimist. Hyunwoo called her realistic. Nothing about this mission is safe, Hyunwoo replied, but it's necessary. Necessary and possible aren't the same thing, Bora said. The FTL drive has only been tested 3 times. Each test lasted less than an hour. We're planning to use it continuously for 3 months. What if it fails halfway there? What if it tears the ship apart? Hyunwoo looked at her. What if it works and we save an entire civilization? Bora smiled slightly. That's why I agreed to come. But someone on this mission needs to worry about the details. That's why I chose you, Hyunwoo said. Over the next 6 weeks, Hyunwoo assembled his crew. He needed the best people humanity had to offer, but he also needed people who understood what they were volunteering for. This wasn't a normal mission. It was dangerous, experimental, and there was a real chance none of them would come back. The applications flooded in. More than 50,000 people volunteered within the first week. Scientists, soldiers, engineers, doctors, pilots. Everyone wanted to be part of humanity's first faster-than-light rescue mission. Hyunwoo interviewed hundreds of candidates personally. He was looking for more than just skills. He needed people with courage, compassion, and the ability to stay calm under pressure. Chief Engineer Sung-ho was one of the first people he selected. Sung-ho was in his 30s, tall and thin, with wild hair that never seemed to stay in place. He talked fast and moved faster, always thinking 3 steps ahead. Some people found him strange, but Hyunwoo recognized genius when he saw it. "The FTL drive is my baby," Sung-ho said during his interview. "I helped design it. I know every circuit, every power coupling, every potential failure point. If something goes wrong out there, I'm the only person who can fix it." "Why do you want to go?" Hyunwoo asked. "This isn't a test flight. It's a rescue mission to save aliens we've never met." Sung-ho's expression became serious. "Because that's the point, isn't it? We've never met them, but they need help. If we only helped people we knew, we'd never help anyone new. This is humanity saying we're better than that." Hyunwoo hired him on the spot. Dr. Young-mi was chosen as the chief medical officer. She was a small woman with gentle eyes and steady hands. She had worked in emergency medicine for 15 years, treating everything from space accidents to alien diseases discovered on new colony worlds. "I've never treated a Velrothi before," Young-mi admitted. "I don't know their biology, their chemistry, or how their bodies work. But I'll learn. I'll study every piece of information we have about them during the journey. When we arrive, I'll be ready to help them." "What if their biology is completely different from anything you've seen?" Hyunwoo asked. Young-mi smiled. "Then I'll figure it out. That's what doctors do." Marine Commander Jae-won brought a different kind of expertise. He was built like a soldier, with broad shoulders and watchful eyes. He had served in special forces for 10 years, handling dangerous situations on colony worlds and space stations. "You understand this is a rescue mission, not a combat mission?" Hyunwoo said during the interview. "I understand," Jae-won replied, "but rescue missions can become dangerous. We don't know what's causing the Velrothi's problems. We don't know if there are hostile forces in their system. We don't know what we'll find when we get there. You need someone who can protect the crew and handle unexpected threats. Can you follow orders even if those orders are to help instead of fight?" Jae-won nodded firmly. "I became a soldier to protect people. It doesn't matter if those people are human or alien. If they need protecting, I'll do my job." The pilot was the hardest position to fill. Hyunwoo needed someone who could navigate through unknown space, handle a completely new type of engine, and stay calm during a 3-month journey where one mistake could kill everyone on board. Ha-jun walked into the interview with confidence that bordered on arrogance. He was young, maybe 26, with quick movements and quicker words. "I'm the best pilot in the fleet," Ha-jun said simply. "I've logged more simulation hours on the FTL drive than anyone else. I know how it handles, how it responds, and how to keep it stable during long-distance travel." "You're also known for being reckless," Bora said. She was sitting in on the pilot interviews. Ha-jun grinned. "I'm known for taking calculated risks. There's a difference. Reckless pilots crash. I never crash." "This isn't a race or a simulation," Hyunwoo said. "This is real. People's lives depend on your decisions." Ha-jun's smile faded and his expression became serious. "I know, that's why I want to go. I'm tired of simulations and test flights. I want to do something that matters. Those aliens need help and I can get us there safely. Let me prove it." Something in the young pilot's eyes convinced Hyunwoo. He saw determination and purpose beneath the confident exterior. "You're hired," Hyunwoo said. "But if you take unnecessary risks with my crew, I'll remove you from the pilot seat myself." "Understood, Commander." Lieutenant Jisoo and Dr. Tae Yang both joined the crew automatically. Jisoo had been the first to detect the distress call, and her expertise with alien signals would be crucial. Tae Yang was the only person who could fully understand the Velrothi language. As the departure date approached, the crew worked together to prepare the ship. Sung-ho spent 18 hours a day checking and rechecking the FTL drive. He found small problems, fixed them, and found more problems. "Is the ship safe?" Hyunwoo asked him one evening. Sung-ho wiped grease from his hands and looked at the massive engine core. "Define safe. Will it get us there?" "Yes, probably." "Will it be comfortable?" "No." "Will there be problems along the way?" "Definitely. But I can handle them." "That's not very reassuring. Would you prefer I lie to you?" Hyunwoo smiled. "No, I prefer honesty." Young-mi spent her time preparing the medical bay for unknown situations. She studied everything humanity knew about alien biology, which wasn't much. She packed medical supplies for every possible emergency she could imagine. Bora worked on logistics and planning. She created backup plans for every part of the mission, then created backup plans for the backup plans. She knew that once they entered FTL travel, they would be completely alone. No one could help them. They had to be ready for everything. Jae-won trained his security team. He selected 20 Marines who would accompany the mission, each one a volunteer who understood the risks. They drilled for hostile encounters, emergency evacuations, and disaster scenarios. Ha-Jun spent hours in the pilot simulator, practicing the route to the Velrathi system. He studied the star charts, memorized every obstacle, and planned the smoothest possible journey. 1 week before departure, Earth Command held a ceremony. Representatives from every nation came to see the crew off. The Horizon's Promise would be leaving human space for the first time, traveling farther than any human had ever gone. The crew stood together in their uniforms, looking out at the crowd. Hyunwoo felt a sense of pride looking at his team. These people had volunteered to risk their lives for strangers. That said something important about humanity. A government official gave a speech about courage and exploration. But Hyunwoo barely listened. He was thinking about the Velrathi, still waiting, still hoping, still dying. After the ceremony, the crew gathered in private for their own moment. They stood in a circle looking at each other. "We might not come back," Hyunwoo said honestly. "This mission is dangerous. The technology is new. We're traveling into unknown space to help people we've never met. Anyone who wants to leave now can do so with no shame." No one moved. "Then let's make this clear," Hyunwoo continued. "We're not doing this for glory or fame. We're doing this because it's right. Because someone cried for help and we have the ability to answer. That's all the reason we need." "Agreed," Bo-Ra said. One by one, the others voiced their agreement. When they finished, they placed their hands together in the center of the circle, a symbol of unity and purpose. Launch day arrived cold and clear. The crew boarded the Horizon's Promise and took their positions. Sung-ho started the power-up sequence for the FTL drive. Ha-Jun ran through his pre-flight checks. Youngmi secured the medical bay. Jae-won and his Marines strapped in for departure. Hyunwoo sat in the command chair, Bo-Ra beside him. Jisoo monitored communications while Tae-yang reviewed the Velrathi language files one more time. "All systems green," Sung-ho reported. "FTL drive is stable and ready." "Navigation course plotted and locked," Ha-Jun said. Hyunwoo took a deep breath. "Earth Command, this is Horizon's Promise. We are ready for departure." "Acknowledged, Horizon's Promise," came the reply. "Godspeed. Bring them home." 3 months in faster-than-light travel felt both longer and shorter than expected. The crew of the Horizon's Promise had settled into routines, but everyone knew they were counting down to something momentous. They were about to meet an alien civilization for the first time in human history. During the journey, Jisoo had continued monitoring the Velrathi distress signal. Each week it grew slightly weaker. The mathematical patterns remained the same, but the strength of the transmission was fading. "They're running out of power," Tae-yang said, studying the latest readings, "or their broadcasting equipment is failing. Either way, time is running out faster than we thought." Commander Hyunwoo stood on the bridge watching the countdown timer. 24 hours until they reached the Velrathi system. 24 hours until they would see what was destroying an entire civilization. "All crew, this is the commander," he announced over the ship's communication system. "We're approaching our destination. Everyone should prepare for arrival and possible first contact. Dr. Youngmi, make sure medical is ready for anything. Jae-won, keep your team on standby. We don't know what we're walking into." The final hours passed slowly. The crew was tense but excited. Even Sung-ho, who normally never left the engine room, came up to the bridge to watch their arrival. "Dropping out of FTL in 10 seconds, Ha-Jun announced. His hands moved over the controls with practiced ease. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now. The strange stretched feeling of FTL travel ended suddenly. The stars returned to normal points of light. And directly ahead of them, the Velrathi system came into view. What they saw made everyone on the bridge fall silent. The system had 7 planets orbiting a yellow star similar to Earth's sun. But dominating the center of everything was a dark mass like a hole in space itself. It was consuming the star, drinking its light and energy. The darkness pulsed slowly, growing larger with each pulse. "What is that?" Bo-Ra whispered. "Scanning now," Jisoo said, her fingers flying over her console. I don't know how to describe it. It's like a black hole, but it's moving wrong. It's not following normal physics." "The void," Tae-yang said quietly. "That's what the Velrathi called it in their message." "The consuming darkness." Hyunwoo stared at the anomaly. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. He could understand why the Velrathi were desperate. This thing was eating their entire solar system. How long until it consumes everything? He asked. Jisoo worked quickly. Based on its current rate of expansion, 2 weeks, maybe less, 2 weeks. They had traveled for 3 months, and now they had 2 weeks to save an entire species. Sir, I'm detecting ships, Bora said suddenly. Multiple vessels approaching our position. They're small, and they're not moving in an attack pattern. Velrathi ships, Taeyang said. They know we're here. Open all frequencies, Hyunwoo ordered. Let's say hello. Jisoo worked her console, broadcasting on every possible channel. Taeyang stood ready with the translation programs he had built during the journey. The Velrathi ships came closer, moving cautiously. They were beautiful ships, curved and organic-looking like they had been grown rather than built. Through the view screen, the crew could see the ships' hulls were covered in intricate patterns. A signal came through. It started as the same mathematical language from the distress call, but Taeyang's translation program worked quickly. Within seconds, the computer was converting the alien language into words the crew could understand. Unknown vessel. Identify yourself. Are you responding to our call for help? Hyunwoo stepped forward. This is Commander Hyunwoo of the Earthship Horizon's Promise. We received your distress signal. We came to help. The response took several seconds. When it came, there was something in the translated voice that sounded like disbelief. You came? Someone actually came. Yes, we're here to help you. Can we meet? We need to understand what's happening to your system. Permission granted. We will guide you to our homeworld. Please follow our ships. The Velrathi vessels turned and began leading the Horizon's Promise deeper into the system. As they traveled, the crew got a better view of the damage. 2 of the 7 planets were already gone, consumed by the dark anomaly. A 3rd planet was breaking apart, its surface cracking and crumbling into the void. This is horrible, Youngmi said softly. An entire solar system being destroyed. They reached the 4th planet, the Velrathi homeworld. It was a beautiful place, covered in purple oceans and green land masses, but even from orbit they could see the signs of panic. Ships were moving everywhere, and the cities below looked chaotic. We're receiving docking instructions, Jisoo reported. They want us to land at their main spaceport. Take us down, Hajun, Hyunwoo said. The Horizon's Promise descended through the atmosphere. The Velrathi homeworld had air that humans could breathe according to the initial scans. That was fortunate. It would make interaction easier. They landed on a massive platform surrounded by Velrathi people. The crew got their first real look at the aliens through the view screen. The Velrathi were insectoid, standing on 4 legs with 2 upper limbs that could manipulate tools. Their bodies were covered in a hard shell that shimmered with colors. Large, multifaceted eyes dominated their heads. They're beautiful, Youngmi said. Everyone stay calm, Hyunwoo reminded the crew. This is first contact. Everything we do here matters. A delegation of Velrathi approached the ship. Hyunwoo selected a small team to exit first, himself, Bora, Taeyang, and Youngmi. Jaewon wanted to come, but Hyunwoo ordered him to stay on the ship with his Marines. If this goes wrong, I need you to protect the crew and get them out of here, Hyunwoo told him. The airlock opened. Hyunwoo took a deep breath and stepped out onto an alien world for the first time. The air was warm and smelled different from Earth, sweeter somehow. The gravity was slightly lighter. The Velrathi delegation waited. One of them stepped forward, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for a creature with 4 legs. When the alien spoke, the translation device Taeyang had built converted its words. I am Ventala, elder of the Velrathi people. I cannot believe you are real. I cannot believe someone heard our call. Hyunwoo could hear emotion in the translated voice. We heard you. We came as fast as we could. I'm Commander Hyunwoo. This is Captain Bora, Dr. Taeyang, and Dr. Youngmi. We represent Earth and humanity. Ventala's large eyes seemed to glisten. Humanity. We did not know you existed. We did not know anyone existed. We have been alone for so long, and when the void came, we thought we would die alone. The elder's voice broke slightly. You came. You actually came. We need to understand what's happening, Hyunwoo said gently. What is that anomaly? How did it start? Please come with us, Ventala said. We will explain everything. The Velrathi led the humans through their city. The architecture was strange and beautiful, with buildings that curved and spiraled in ways that seemed to defy physics. But everywhere there were signs of desperation. Velrathi were packing belongings, crying, saying goodbye to places they loved. They arrived at a large building that Ventala identified as their science center. Inside, a Velrathi scientist was waiting. Ventala introduced him as Kirmoon, their best astrophysicist. Kirmoon immediately showed them data and images of the anomaly. We call it the void, but it is artificial. We created it. The humans looked shocked. You created that? Bora asked. It was an experiment, Kirmoon explained, his translated voice full of regret. We were trying to create a new power source, a way to generate unlimited energy. We attempted to create a controlled singularity, a tiny artificial black hole that we could harvest energy from. But something went wrong. It grew beyond our control. Now it consumes everything, and we cannot stop it. How many of your people are left? Hyungmi asked. 200,000, Ventala said quietly. We had billions, but we have already lost so many to the void's effects. Radiation, gravitational stress, system-wide disasters, and we cannot evacuate everyone. We don't have enough ships. Hyunwoo felt the weight of those words. 200,000 lives and no way to save them all. We'll find a way, he said. We didn't come all this way to watch you die. Can we see your data on the anomaly? Taiyang asked Kirmoon. Everything you know about how it was created and how it's behaving? Of course. I will share everything. They spent the next several hours reviewing information. Sung Ho joined them from the ship, bringing his expertise with exotic physics and power generation. He and Kirmoon began working together immediately, despite barely being able to communicate directly. It's like a runaway fusion reaction, Sung Ho said, studying the data. But instead of matter and energy, it's consuming space-time itself. And it's accelerating. Can it be stopped? Hyunwoo asked. I don't know, Sung Ho admitted. This is beyond anything humans have ever dealt with. But maybe, if we work together. A young Velrathi child approached the group timidly. She looked up at the humans with wide, curious eyes. Ventala spoke to her gently in their language, then translated for the humans. This is my granddaughter, Veltari. She wanted to meet the beings who came to help us. Young Mi knelt down to be closer to the child's height. Hello, Veltari. Don't be afraid. The child reached out one delicate limb and touched young Mi's hand. You're so different from us, the translated voice said. But you came to... 10 days had passed since the Horizon's promise arrived in the Velrathi system. 10 days of desperate work, long hours, and growing fear. The void had consumed another planet. Now only 3 worlds remained, and the Velrathi homeworld would be next. In a large research facility, Sung Ho and Kirmoon stood in front of a massive display showing the anomaly's structure. They had barely slept in those 10 days, surviving on stimulants and determination. Around them, dozens of human and Velrathi scientists worked together, sharing ideas and data. I think I have something, Sung Ho said suddenly. His eyes were red from exhaustion, but they were sharp with excitement. Kirmoon, look at this. The void is consuming space-time by creating a feedback loop, right? It feeds on itself, growing stronger as it grows larger. Yes, Kirmoon confirmed. That's why we cannot stop it with conventional means. Any energy we direct at it simply feeds it. But what if we don't fight it with energy? What if we counter it with something else? Sung Ho's fingers flew across the display, pulling up equations. Our FTL drive works by creating a bubble of altered space-time. What if we use that same principle to create a counterfield, a bubble that pushes back against the void's consumption? Kirmoon studied the numbers carefully. The mathematics are sound. In theory, a strong enough counterfield could destabilize the void's feedback loop. It would collapse on itself instead of expanding. But there's a problem, Sung Ho said, his excitement fading. To generate a strong enough field, we'd need to fly the Horizon's promise directly into the anomaly's event horizon and activate the FTL drive at maximum output. That's suicide, Bora said. She had been listening from across the room and now walked over to join them. The ship would be torn apart before you could activate the drive. Not if we reinforce the hull and time it perfectly, Sung Ho argued. We'd have maybe 30 seconds inside the event horizon. 30 seconds to activate the drive and generate the counterfield. And what happens to the ship during those 30 seconds? Bora asked. Sung Ho was quiet for a moment. The gravitational forces would be extreme. The ship would take massive damage, and there's a high probability that once we activate the drive under those conditions, we won't be able to turn it off. The ship would be consumed in the process. You mean everyone on board would die? Bora said flatly. I mean, it's a suicide mission, Sung-ho confirmed. But it's the only way to stop the void. Commander Hyunwoo had been standing quietly in the doorway, listening. Now he stepped forward. Walk me through it again. All of it. Sung-ho and Kir-moon explained the plan in detail. The Horizon's promise would need to approach the void at a specific angle and speed. They would penetrate the event horizon, the point of no return. Inside that hellish environment, with the ship being torn apart by gravitational forces, they would activate the FTL drive at full power. If everything worked perfectly, the FTL field would create a counter-reaction that would destabilize the void. The anomaly would collapse on itself, neutralizing the threat. The Velrothi system would be saved. If anything went wrong, the ship and everyone on board would simply be destroyed, and the void would continue consuming everything. What are the odds of success? Hyunwoo asked. Sung-ho and Kir-moon looked at each other. Based on our calculations, maybe 15%, Sung-ho said honestly. 15%, Hyunwoo repeated. And if we do nothing? The Velrothi civilization ends in 4 days, Kir-moon said quietly. 0% chance of survival, Hyunwoo nodded slowly. Then 15% is better than 0. Prepare the plan. I'll inform the crew. That evening, Hyunwoo gathered everyone from the Horizon's Promise in their temporary quarters. The entire crew was there. Bo-ra, Sung-ho, Youngmi, Jae-won, Ha-jun, Jisoo, Taeyang, and all the Marines and support staff. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, Hyunwoo began. We have a plan to stop the void, but it requires flying our ship into the anomaly itself. It's extremely dangerous. According to our calculations, we have a 15% chance of surviving. The room was silent. No one spoke. I want to be clear, Hyunwoo continued. I'm not ordering anyone to do this. This is a volunteer mission. Anyone who wants to stay behind can remain here with the Velrothi. You'll be evacuated with them if we fail. There will be no shame in that choice. Still no one spoke. Then Ha-jun stood up. Commander, with respect, we came here to save these people. Are you really asking if we want to finish the job? Youngmi stood next. We all knew this mission was dangerous when we volunteered. I'm not backing out now. One by one, every single member of the crew stood up. Jae-won and his Marines, Jisoo, Taeyang. Even the support staff who had barely been mentioned during the journey. Bo-ra was the last to stand. She looked at Hyunwoo with a slight smile. You didn't think we'd let you fly into that thing alone, did you? Hyunwoo felt his throat tighten with emotion. You're all crazy, he said softly. We learned from the best, Jae-won replied. The next few days were a blur of activity. The Velrothi worked with the human crew to reinforce the Horizon's Promise as much as possible. Additional hull plating was added. The FTL drive was modified to output maximum power. Every non-essential system was stripped away to make the ship lighter and faster. At the same time, evacuation of the Velrothi began in earnest. Every ship that could fly was being loaded with refugees. The plan was to evacuate as many Velrothi as possible to the outer edges of the system, beyond the void's reach. If the Horizon's Promise succeeded, they could return home. If it failed, at least some of the Velrothi would survive. Jisoo spent her time helping coordinate the evacuation. She had become close with several Velrothi engineers, working together to maximize the efficiency of their ship loadings. The translation devices had improved, allowing for real conversations rather than just basic communication. Why are you doing this? One of the Velrothi engineers asked her. Why would you risk your life for us? You don't know us. We're not your people. Jisoo thought about that question. Maybe that's exactly why we're doing it, she said. Because you're not our people, but you still matter. Because if we only helped people who looked like us or came from our world, what would that say about who we are? Youngmi spent her time with the Velrothi children, especially Veltari. The young one had become attached to the human doctor, following her around and asking endless questions about Earth. Will I ever see your world? Veltari asked. I hope so, Youngmi said honestly. If our plan works, maybe one day the Velrothi can visit Earth. I think you'd like it. We have oceans like yours, but they're blue instead of purple. Veltari touched Youngmi's hand gently. I hope your plan works. I don't want you to die. Me neither, Youngmi said with a sad smile, but some things are worth the risk. Elder Ventala tried to convince Hyunwoo to stay behind. You have already done more than we could have hoped, the elder said. You came when no one else did. You brought us hope, but I cannot ask you to die for us. You're not asking, Hyunwoo replied. We're choosing. There's a difference. Why? Why would you choose this? Hyunwoo looked out at the Velrathi city, at the people rushing to evacuate, at families saying goodbye to their homes. Because this is who we want to be. Humanity has made a lot of mistakes in our history. We've fought wars, destroyed our own planet, hurt each other in terrible ways. But we've also learned. We've grown. And one thing we've learned is that the measure of a civilization isn't how strong it is or how advanced its technology is. It's how it treats others when they're in trouble. Ventala was silent for a long moment. If you survive this, humanity will always have friends among the Velrathi. And if we don't, Hyunwoo said, at least we tried. The final day arrived. The Horizon's promise was as ready as it could be. Most of the Velrathi had been evacuated to the outer system. Those who remained were the last group, waiting to see if the impossible plan would work. The crew boarded the ship for what might be the last time. Jae-won and his Marines secured all equipment. Young Mai made sure the medical bay was ready, though she knew that if things went wrong, there would be no injuries to treat. They would simply cease to exist. Ha-jun ran through his pre-flight checks with unusual seriousness. The cocky attitude was gone, replaced by intense focus. This would be the most important flight of his life, and possibly the last. Sung-ho stood in the engine room, his hands on the FTL drive controls. This was his design, his creation. Now it would either save a civilization or destroy everything. On the bridge, Hyunwoo sat in the command chair with Bo-ra beside him. Jisoo monitored communications while Tae-yang recorded everything for the historical record, if there would be anyone left to read it. Before they departed, Veltari managed to sneak onto the landing platform. She ran up to the ship's airlock and handed something to Jae-won, who was doing a final exterior check. It was a small crystal that glowed with soft light. For luck, the young Velrathi said through the translator. Come back safe. Jae-won accepted the crystal carefully and promised to try. Hyunwoo made a final announcement to the crew. This is it. Everyone knows their role. Whatever happens in the next hour will determine the fate of an entire species. I'm honored to face this with all of you. Sir, Ha-jun said from the pilot seat, I'm ready when you are. Inside the event horizon, the Horizon's promise entered a realm where physics no longer made sense. Through the view screen, the crew saw things that shouldn't exist. Stars that burned backwards, planets that existed and didn't exist at the same time. Space itself folding and unfolding like paper. What is this? Jisoo whispered, staring in horror and wonder. We're inside the void, Tae-yang said, his voice shaking. We're seeing the universe being unmade. The ship groaned and screamed as gravitational forces tore at it from every direction. Metal twisted. Systems began failing one by one. The reinforced hull was already showing cracks. Hull integrity at 70% and dropping, Bo-ra reported, fighting to keep her voice steady. We don't have much time. Ha-jun, can you hold our position? Hyunwoo asked. The young pilot's face was covered in sweat, his hands moving constantly over the controls. Barely. It's like flying through a hurricane made of gravity. I can give you maybe 20 more seconds before we lose control. Sung-ho, activate the FTL drive now. In the engine room, Sung-ho pulled the activation lever. The FTL drive roared to life, but not for travel. Instead, it began generating a massive field around the ship, a bubble of altered spacetime that pushed outward in all directions. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. The ship shook so violently that crew members were thrown from their seats. Systems exploded in showers of sparks. The lights flickered and died, leaving only emergency lighting. Drive is at maximum output, Sung-ho shouted over the noise. But I don't know how long I can hold it. The system is overloading. Just a little longer, Hyunwoo called back. Give it everything you have. The FTL field expanded outward, colliding with the void's own reality-bending forces. Where the two fields met, spacetime itself screamed. The crew felt it in their bones, a sensation like the universe was being torn in half. Through the chaos on the bridge, young Mi had been thrown against a wall. She pulled herself up, blood running down her face from a cut on her forehead. We're going to die here, aren't we? She said, not really asking. Maybe, Hyunwoo admitted, gripping his command chair as the ship bucked wildly. But we're going to save them first. The FTL field continued to expand, pushing against the void's consumption. And then something impossible began to happen. The void started to react. Its pulsing rhythm became irregular, stuttering. The darkness flickered. "It's working." Kermoon's voice came through on the communication channel from the Velrathi observation ships outside the event horizon. "We're seeing destabilization in the anomaly's structure." But on the horizon's promise, the situation was desperate. The ship was being torn apart. Entire sections were losing atmosphere. Half the crew was injured. The FTL drive was operating far beyond its design limits. "Hull integrity at 40%, Bo-Ra reported. "We're not going to survive this." "We don't need to survive," Hyunwoo said quietly. "We just need to finish the job." Jaewon, bleeding from multiple wounds, made his way across the bridge to Hyunwoo. In his hand was the glowing crystal that Veltari had given him. "Commander, if we don't make it, someone should know we tried." "They'll know," Hyunwoo promised. The ship gave a massive shudder. A support beam fell from the ceiling, barely missing Jisoo. Taeyang was unconscious at his station. Haijun was still at the controls, somehow keeping the ship from spiraling into complete destruction. In the engine room, Sung-ho watched his displays with the focus of a man who knew these were his final moments. The FTL drive was operating at 200% capacity, something that should have been impossible. Warning lights covered every panel, but he kept his hand steady, adjusting the output, fine-tuning the field, giving everything he had. "Come on, you beautiful machine," he whispered to the drive. "Just a little more. Just enough to save them." The void's collapse accelerated. The darkness that had consumed planets began to fold in on itself. The feedback loop that had made it grow now working in reverse. Space-time began to stabilize, the impossible physics returning to normal, but the price was steep. The horizon's promise was dying. Systems were failing faster than they could be counted. The hull was cracking open, exposing sections to the vacuum of space. Crew members in those sections had only seconds before the atmosphere vented completely. "Emergency bulkheads are sealing," Bo-Ra reported. "We're losing decks 3 through 5. We have casualties. Keep the drive running," Hyunwoo ordered. "Don't stop until it's finished." "Sir, if we don't shut down now, the drive will explode," Sung-ho warned. "We'll destroy the ship completely." "Then let it explode," Hyunwoo said. "Finish this." For the first time, Bo-Ra looked at her commander with tears in her eyes. "It's been an honor serving with you." "The honor was mine," Hyunwoo replied. The void's collapse reached a critical point. The anomaly that had threatened to consume an entire solar system suddenly imploded, collapsing in on itself with a burst of exotic radiation. The darkness vanished, leaving only normal space behind. At the exact moment of the void's final collapse, the Horizon's Promises FTL drive reached its absolute limit. The entire system overloaded in a cascade failure that sent a shockwave of energy through the ship. "Drive failure," Sung-ho shouted. "Everyone brace for—" The explosion never came. Instead, the overloading drive released its energy in a strange, controlled burst. The ship was picked up by the wave of exotic particles and thrown outward from the collapsing anomaly, ejected like a seed from a dying flower. The Horizon's Promise tumbled through space, its hull cracked and broken, atmosphere venting from a dozen breaches, systems dead or dying. But the ship was intact enough to be saved. Velrathi rescue ships rushed toward the damaged vessel. They attached emergency airlocks and boarding tubes, sealing the breaches. Medical teams swarmed aboard, finding the human crew unconscious but alive. Commander Hyunwoo opened his eyes in a Velrathi medical facility 3 days later. His body was covered in bandages and every muscle ached, but he was alive. Elder Ventala was sitting beside his bed. When the Velrathi saw Hyunwoo wake up, the elder made a sound that the translator converted as a sob of relief. "You survived," Ventala said. "All of you survived, and you saved us. You actually saved us." "The void?" Hyunwoo asked, his voice hoarse. "Gone, completely neutralized. Your plan worked. The Velrathi system is stable again." Ventala touched Hyunwoo's hand gently with one delicate limb. "You flew into death itself to save us, strangers, people you had never met." "Why would you do such a thing?" Hyunwoo managed a small smile. "Because you called for help." And we answered. "That's what we do." Over the next few weeks, the crew of the Horizon's Promise recovered. All of them had injuries, some serious, but young me had survived and worked alongside the Velrathi doctors to treat everyone. The ship itself was beyond repair, too damaged to ever fly again. But the Velrathi offered to build them a new one, better than the original. 3 months after the mission, Earth received the news that the crew had survived and succeeded. The celebration lasted for days. The Horizon's Promise crew became instant heroes, though they never really liked that title. The Velrothi kept their promise to Hyunwoo. They petitioned to join humanity's interstellar community, offering their knowledge and friendship. The two species began working together on projects, sharing technology and culture. On the Velrothi homeworld, a massive monument was erected in the capital city. It showed statues of the Horizon's Promise crew standing together, looking up at the sky. The inscription was written in both Velrothi script and human language. They heard our call across the void of space. They came when no one else would. They risked everything to save us. May we never forget their courage, and may we strive to be worthy of their sacrifice. Young Veltari, now studying to become a scientist like her grandfather Kirmoon, visited the monument often. She had decided to dedicate her life to helping others, inspired by the humans who had saved her world. One day, several years after the rescue, Jisoo was working at a rebuilt listening station when she detected another signal. It was different from the Velrothi distress call, but the pattern was similar: mathematical language, a plea for help, another civilization in trouble. She immediately sent the signal to Commander Hyunwoo, who had been promoted to admiral and put in charge of Earth's deep space operations. "Sir, we have another distress call." "A different species, but the message is the same. They need help." Hyunwoo studied the signal carefully. The coordinates put the source 80 light-years away. It would be dangerous. It would be expensive. There was no guarantee of success. "Assemble a crew," he said simply. "We're going." "Sir, there are already thousands of volunteers," Jisoo replied, "from both humans and Velrothi." "Everyone wants to help," Hyunwoo smiled. "Then let's show them what we showed the Velrothi. Let's show them what it means when someone calls for help and we answer." The new ship, called Horizon's Promise 2, launched 3 months later. It was faster and stronger than the original, built with combined human and Velrothi technology. The crew was mixed, both species working together. As the ship prepared for its FTL jump, Hyunwoo looked out at Earth one last time. Then he looked at his new crew, human and Velrothi, standing side by side. "Ready?" he asked. "Ready," they replied together. The ship jumped to faster than light speed and disappeared into the stars, racing toward another.